Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to absolutely dissect the foundational garment of your trade, and honestly, we're going to challenge a lot of what you probably think you know about its origins. If you work in denim, whether you're a designer, a product developer, or a brand historian, you're dealing with the legacy of the blue jean literally every single day. But right now, we are stripping away over a century of marketing to look at the gritty, historical reality. Let's deconstruct the exact specifications of the 1873 original.
So I want you to picture the very first pair of blue jeans. Got it? Well, I can almost guarantee they looked vastly different from the five-pocket staple you're designing today. Now, no complete pair from that very first 1873 production year survives, which is a bit of a bummer. But thanks to early archives, later 19th century examples, and patent records, we can actually reconstruct exactly what came off that San Francisco production line right after the patent dropped on May 20th, 1873.
First things first, we actually have to ditch the modern name. Back then, they weren't called jeans, and they definitely weren't called 501s. They were known as waist overalls. The basic cut already existed in the workwear market, so that wasn't new. The true innovation, which was overseen by Jacob Davis, who moved to San Francisco specifically to work with Levi Strauss, was adding this totally new system of metal copper rivets to points where ordinary trousers would just tear apart under strain. The absolute genius of 1873 was all in the hardware, not the silhouette.
And here is the kicker. Those first blue denim waist overalls only had 4 pockets. That's right, just 4. 2 front pockets, 1 small watch pocket, and exactly 1 back pocket. For anyone drafting patterns today, imagine taking that to your team, right? That single back pocket, which was heavily reinforced with exposed rivets, made the earliest pairs look completely asymmetrical from the rear. It's kind of wild to think about.
Think about what you're manufacturing today versus that 1873 waist overall. The differences are pretty stark. The original featured a button fly, completely lacking the zippers we're so used to now. And belts? They weren't really the norm yet, so you're not going to find any belt loops. Instead, they had buttons lining the waistband for suspenders, and a fabric cinch strap sat at the lower back just to tighten up the fit. Plus, rivets were literally everywhere, at the pocket openings, the base of the fly, and even attaching that back cinch.
And honestly, this perfectly busts a massive industry myth. Because that 1873 waist overall only had 4 pockets, that small watch pocket nested inside the right front pocket, yeah, it was actually there from the very beginning. Meaning, historically speaking, the watch pocket is not the 5th pocket. The familiar 5-pocket arrangement that we all know and love didn't actually show up until 1901, when a second back pocket was finally added to the mix. For you product developers out there, let's talk specs. The visual identity of jeans really emerged from this very specific triad: the cloth, the hardware, and the stitching. They were sewn together with ultra-sturdy linen thread, and they used an unwashed 9-ounce Amaski egg denim. What does that mean? Well, the garment maker had to cut and sew a super stiff fabric that was sold as shrink to fit, so its dimensions were going to change dramatically the second the customer took it home and washed it. Now, thinking about that single back pocket, you've probably been wondering about the curved double line of stitching, the famous arcuette. Company records absolutely confirm that this specific stitch design was there from day one on those riveted waist overalls. It is one of the rare, truly original features from 1873 that remains immediately recognizable on the garments you guys produce today.
But why was it chosen? What was it actually supposed to mean? The surprising reality is, we literally have no idea. The early company records that held that secret were tragically lost to the 1906 San Francisco earthquake and the devastating fires that swept the city right after. So, as historians and designers, the most accurate thing we can say is simply that the pattern was there, but its original meaning is totally lost to history.
All right, let's shift gears a bit. Beyond the blue, denim, duck, and selvage. That original blue version utilized a really stiff, narrow 9-ounce denim supplied by the Amaski Manufacturing Company all the way over in New Hampshire, which was one of the major American textile producers at the time. Levi Strauss Records dubbed it XX denim just to denote that it was top-grade fabric. But here's a brilliant manufacturing hack for you. Because it was a narrow loom fabric, garment makers smartly used the plain white mill-woven selvage edge right on the outside leg seams. This gave them a perfectly clean finish without needing any extra overcast stitching. Super efficient.
But here's a fun twist that really proves the patented invention was the reinforcement method itself, and not the blue fabric. The exact same riveted construction was also applied to heavy, plain woven brown cotton duck canvas. Actually, Jacob Davis had already been making riveted trousers out of white cotton duck back in Reno. So the early history is crystal clear on this. The patent was purely for the copper rivet system.
Blue denim just happened to be the version that caught on and survived the test of time to become the jean.
Which leads us perfectly into our final section, the evolution of an icon.
When you map out the timeline, it is wild to see just how much of our standard design came much, much later. That iconic leather two-horse patch, that wasn't introduced until 1886. In 1890, when the original patent expired, the waist overalls officially got the lot number 501. That second back pocket we talked about finally arrived in 1901. And that famous red line selvage, Cone Mills didn't even introduce that red identifying yarn until 1927. So if you're ever expecting an 1873 pair to have a red selvage line, yeah, that is historically inaccurate.
As we wrap things up today, I really want you to reflect on this. The first riveted jeans were absolutely the ancestors of modern denim, no doubt about it. But they were deeply, deeply rooted in 19th century utilitarian wear, from their asymmetrical pockets to those rugged canvas variants. The genius of 1873 wasn't just the Amaskik blue denim, it was a highly durable, precisely engineered construction method that birthed a literal legacy.
So, armed with the gritty reality of its 19th century origins, the four pockets, the plain white selvage, the suspender buttons, and yes, even the heavy duck canvas variants, the baton is officially passed to you. You are the developers shaping this industry today. Knowing its true utilitarian roots, how are you going to take this foundation and engineer the very next chapter of denim?